Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matt, I am the American-Canadian Gamer, and today I have some Halo 5 news of all things to talk about. Yeah, that's kind of weird, isn't it? I mean, the Master Chief Collection just came out at midnight. I'm starting today off with Halo 5 news. Is kind of weird, but there are actually some things that were just released that we need to talk about, and that's because a lot of the press, like IGN and some other people, got some hands-on time with Halo 5's multiplayer, and they're starting to release a lot of their footage and experiences with that component of the game. And so there's some things that I'd like to bring up and talk about. And I'm sorry that I don't have any footage or anything of it. First of all, the footage isn't owned by me. It's owned by like IGN and other outlets. And also, I'm getting ready to go to work, so I don't really have time to splice that stuff together anyways. But let's talk about some of the changes we're going to see in Halo 5's multiplayer. And one of the first ones is that every Spartan will have unlimited sprint. Unlimited sprint. Everybody will be able to sprint from point A to point B without stopping at any time they want to. Basically, you're going to have the marathon perk the entire time through the game, but they did change sprinting around a little bit. I don't know if you still get slowed down when you're shot while sprinting, but while you sprint, you no longer recharge shields. Your shields will not recharge while you're sprinting anymore, which is a really interesting, balance change. I'm guessing the way they're putting it is that, the suit's power has to redirect to the sprint output in order for the Spartan to actually be able to move that fast, because as we saw in Halo Reach, the sprint armor ability was actually an override of the safety inhibitors on the Spartan's armor, so it actually made it so that Spartans would sprint a little faster than they were actually capable of doing in the armor, safely in the armor. So I guess that's maybe why it does it. Instead of having an armor ability, it just pulls from the shield's energy reserves. Now, I don't know if the shielding recharge will work in any way like, wow, I just said that really bad. I don't know which way the shielding recharge will work, because let's say you need, all for sake of argument, 5 seconds between when you take damage till your shield begins recharging. Now, let's say you take damage and you start sprinting, it lasts 5 seconds, then you stop sprinting. Do your shields recharge immediately, or do they start that 5 seconds when you stop sprinting and then your shields start recharging? I don't know about that. I don't know if that delay will happen while you're sprinting, if it can, or it'll happen after you end your sprint. But you will have to stop sprinting and find cover in order to allow your shields to recharge. So if you take a lot of lethal damage and you become one-shottable and you turn tail and you run from somebody who maybe has half shields or more, and you just sprint the whole time they're chasing you, you're going to leave a red blip on their radar to allow them to track you down, and then when you stop sprinting, they're going to be able to throw a grenade and pick you apart. I mean, there are some new things that you can use to avoid that, like the dashing that we're going to talk about in a second, but all in all, I'm interested to see how that change works out. So far, it sounds pretty good, but other than that, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I do like that they're actually taking an initiative to kind of rebalance sprint, because I do think sprint was really broken in the way that it worked, and maybe this will be the thing that does fix it, and it will kind of end that cat and mouse kind of scenario, because now the mouse is going to be a whole lot more vulnerable when he's trying to run away. So now, let's talk about the maneuverability that you're going to have. You're going to have basically a thruster pack, and they compared a little bit to Advanced Warfare's movement, what they have now, but it's not exactly the same. And one of the major effects is because in Halo, you don't die as quickly as you do in Call of Duty. So actually having the ability to kind of thrust around allows you to escape and survive much more frequently than it does in something like Call of Duty, because you don't die as quickly. So that, combined with the sprint, maybe you will be able to get away and escape situations much more frequently. But if you do decide you're going to retreat by thrusting and then sprinting, you're going to have problems with your shield regeneration. Now, I don't know the true effectiveness, the delays between the thrusts. I don't know if you're going to be able to just thrust and then thrust and thrust. I don't know what the recharge time is between each one, the cooldown time. And I also don't know how much distance it really garners you, because it's really hard to tell that just by staring at footage. But it does look like it's, going to be really similar to the thruster pack from Halo 4, which is really good, because that was one of my favorite armor abilities, and it was one of the most fun to use. So I'm really glad to see them kind of just take that as the main inspiration for it. So, I mean, it looks like you're going to have that, and then the sprints, you're going to have no lack of maneuverability, which is going to be a good thing and a bad thing. Hopefully it's balanced out well enough, because the kill time issues with creating that cat and mouse effect, but I think eliminating the shield recharge and just giving everybody a thruster pack as opposed to having jetpacks and everything else will be a major change that might really help out big time in the long run. Okay, other changes. I'm off the top of my head here. I'm trying to get this done before work. Ironsights. That's a thing. Okay, not technically Ironsights. They call it a smart scope system, but there are a lot of them that do look very, very, very similar to Ironsights, and some of them remind me of the old style of Ironsights like you saw in the original Far Cry, where you would zoom in, but it would just kind of like make the gun bigger, zoom in, and your crosshair would get tighter. That does happen with weapons like the assault rifle because the assault rifle has no actual physical sights on the weapon. But it does have like an iron sight effect where the battle rifle will iron sight for you, and then you'll get the zoom effect, and the assault rifle kind of zooms in a little bit, the Magnum centers and zooms a little bit, and that's all I saw of it. But yeah, they do have that iron sight effect in this game, so that smart scope system, which I kind of find unnecessary for Spartans. I mean, maybe if you were playing as humans, I could see it, but Spartans actually have, like the HUD, the crosshair, is actually canonical for Spartans. Their armor actually puts a crosshair on their HUD that shows where their weapon is currently aiming, which kind of negates the need for iron sights, but I'll let that go for now if it affects the gameplay in a positive manner. I don't really see how it couldn't, and they also said that they didn't want to really take it into the full iron sight spectrum where your hip fire is useless. They said hip fire is going to be just as good as it has always been in Halo, and hip fire will be the main way you handle things, but if you just need that little bit more precision when something is just beyond the optimum range of your weapon, you can zoom in and start taking pot shots with them. Like, the battle rifle has its zoom functionality, the Magnum has a very slight one, and the assault rifle has a very slight one. Those are the only weapons that I saw, but those are the ones that were used as the example. So, smart scope system is a thing that's happening. Oh, but they are bringing back Descope. I'm glad I remembered to mention this. They are bringing back the Descope effect. So if you're zooming in with that battle rifle and you take a shot, you're not going to be zooming in anymore, which is going to be so nice. I mean, you know how frustrating it was in Halo 4 to put 3-4 shots of a DMR or a battle rifle onto a sniper from a distance, and they still just pick you off in the middle of gunfire because there was no descoping. Descoping has been an integral part of Halo's balance since the game was first made. It's been there from the beginning. It was always a great thing to have, and it's finally coming back. So if you're aiming with your weapon and you take fire, it's going to push you out of the scope. Now, I don't know if that'll work with certain weapons like the Magnum or the assault rifle because you're not really scoped in with them. I didn't see anything like that happen in any of the videos. But as far as the battle rifle and sniper rifle are concerned, you do get descoped. So I don't know if it's also going to flinch you when you get shot. Like, I know they said you'll get descope, but will also flinch you. I have no idea. Probably not. There probably won't be a need for it if the descoping is a thing, but that is what's happening with the descoping. Now, a couple other little things. They did talk about Spartans now talk while they're in combat. They'll say, like, oh, I'm reloading. My shields are recharged. That's a little change. Forge is apparently getting a nice little revamp. You're going to have a lot of little effects you can add and make the maps look differently as to your liking. So there's a lot of neat, interesting little things to talk about in the game. Unfortunately, I have no info on any new weapons. I did see a pseudo SMG style weapon, however. It was really weird. It kind of looked like it looked like a grenade launcher, but it was automatic. And it looked like a submachine gun, actually. So, I mean, as far as new weapons are concerned, I don't know too awful much, but those are the details that we do know for now. Go check it out. Nick Robinson, formerly of Rev3 Games, has a good little look at everything. IGN has something. Personally, I would go to Nick Robinson. Go check him out. He has some pretty good coverage of it. But yeah, lots of news for Halo 5. Lots of news for Halo 5. So I better get going. As always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt, and I'll see you next time.